Welcome everyone who's joining us live. And then if you weren't able to join us live, I'm glad you were able to catch this recording. So we're going to be doing a casual talk and discussion about navigating your network, really with a focus on staying connected after the AMSSM annual meeting. So I will hand it off to Dr. Mooney for a little intro into this series since we've been offline for a little while.
Hi, I'm Caitlyn Mooney. I'm at present living in San Antonio, but I'll start at Vanderbilt in Nashville next month. And I, along with the Laurens, started the Early Career Blueprint series, I guess it was last year, where we were just discussing the lack of information both on kind of career navigation and the skills of career development, especially as it pertained to topics related to women. While this is brought to us via the Women in Leadership Lead, we've always been said that this is open to everybody. It's just topics that tend to be important for women, especially like we've done things on negotiations and things like that. So even if you're, no matter how you identify, you're welcome to come to these and watch those. But we are kind of co-sponsored with Women in Leadership Lead, which had a session at the national conference. So I accidentally just deleted your bios on my email.
All good.
So could you guys both introduce yourself? Oh, wait, hold on. So Lauren Rudolph completed her PM&R residency at the University of Utah and her sports fellowship at the University of Iowa, which I think is behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And following that, she's moved to Colorado, where she started her job as a primary care physician at the University of Northern Colorado. And after having a baby recently, she transitioned to orthobiologics private practice in Boulder, where she currently resides. She is the head team physician for professional cycling team in Boulder and does travel coverage for US Freestyle Ski. And then moving on to Dr. Lauren Poindexter. So she's an attending physician in the Department of Orthopedics at the University of Arkansas, Division of Sports Medicine, and also completed a PM&R Sports Medicine Fellowship at NYU. And she treats patients from 4 to 94 with MSK injuries and concussions, and also does spine procedures and teaching. And also very uniquely, she has been previously certified as an EMT and an athletic trainer. And as she said, she's in Fayetteville, which I always thought you were in Little Rock, but so
cool.
That's just my lack of knowledge of Arkansas.
Thank you. Thanks, Caitlin. So I apologize if I have a little bit of sniffles or voice is slightly off. We've been dealing with smoke from the fires in Canada. So it's been quite smoky here, which is kind of unusual, but well, not unusual, but it's unfortunate it's not here. So apologize if I do a little sniffle here and there. I don't have COVID. Okay, so let's get going. So we're going to be talking about networking today, but specifically focused on plugging back into AMSSM and our AMSSM colleagues and staying connected going forward throughout the year. We're going to do this by, I'm basically just going to present some sort of ideas, to-do lists, and then and sort of a 1 week to-do list and a 1 month to-do list, as well as invite you all to add to the chat box for ideas as well. Before we get going, talking about our to-do list post AMSSM conference, I just want to give you a little background on networking and why we decided to do this particular talk. I think a lot of work goes into leading up to the AMSSM meeting, thinking about who you're going to meet there, what your talk is, what lectures you're going to go to. And then once it's over, I think we all have the tendency to sort of unplug. But now we have about a 1 month or so opportunity after the meeting to use the meeting existence as a networking touch point. So wanted to kind of, and then also just give you ideas for how to stay connected throughout the year. So again, we're going to do that through to-do lists. And I understand networking, it can be different for different people depending on your goals. If you're a resident, you might be looking to get into a fellowship. If you're, early career, you might be looking to get a new job. And so this is going to be a little bit less specific, but more idea generating. And then I wanted to also make note of the importance of authenticity. I think a lot of us, when we hear the word networking, might cringe and think of collecting business cards, but this is really connecting over collecting. I think one of the benefits that I've really enjoyed about AMSSM is making true, authentic, what I would say friends and colleagues. And so I think that's one of the maybe unseen benefits of being a part of AMSSM. And so wanted to kind of share how to how to stay connected, as well as brainstorm with you all. So a few key points. So like I said, I think a focus on authenticity is really important, as opposed to cold calling and trying to collect business cards. So a phrase I like is connecting over collecting, as in collecting business cards and contacts. And a few key points: be in these sort of to-do lists topics, be specific and be brief. Now is more the opportunity to make small touch points that will hopefully lead to later bigger touch points. In other words, you might just be reconnecting with someone, and that isn't necessarily in relation to a new job, but it could be in a year or two. And then also, just as a reminder, in addition to the being specific and being brief, also it's helpful to make it easy for someone to say yes. So in other words, if you want to meet with someone in person to grab coffee, that might be a little bit more challenging, especially given our crazy schedules, but a quick phone call or saying something like, would love to correspond via email, chat, text, whatever's easiest for you. And then finally, networking is an active or interactive process. So I wanted to invite everyone who is participating live to add their own, to brainstorm and add their own additional suggestions, recommendations, ideas for these to-do lists in the chat box. And then I'm going to have Dr. Mooney monitor those, and we'll bring some of those up at the end for a more informal networking session. And then also, if there are any specific questions or things that you do want to be discussed, add those to the chat box as well. And Caitlyn will be monitoring that. Okay, so I have a 1 week post-conference to-do list, ideas for your to-do list. And I know 1 week has sort of passed already, but I think most of these things are still potential options to do. So following up with industry reps. So if there is, most of the time they tend to reach out to you anyway, so that's almost taken off your to-do list. But following up with different devices or like ultrasound machines or procedure kits and things that you might want to bring into your office or learn more about. Don't forget to fill out your CME credit form. I will admit I probably haven't done all of my 1 week to-dos, but I will do them tonight, I promise. Another reminder, things to do: watch or re-watch lectures in the Event Mobi app before they disappear. I think you have about a month or so, but don't quote me, but they're definitely still there now. And if there's specific topics that you're interested in, it's completely reasonable to congratulate the speaker, express interest in collaboration or future research. Obviously, don't be cheesy, but again, with a focus on authenticity, I personally think that's a completely reasonable thing to connect on. And then there is this app in the Event Mobi thing where you can respond and send messages to. So just, I would double check and make sure no one tried to connect with you on there before the app goes away. And then finally, after 1 week post-conference is a great time to join some of the Collaborate groups, because that's where a lot of people are connecting over the next steps, the next months after the meeting and then leading up to the next meeting. Dr. Poindexter is going to do a demo and explanation on how that all works, because it can be a little bit confusing, but I'm just going to save that till the end, just because for time, it's almost easier to not share screens and then share screens back. Okay, and now for your 1 month post-conference ideas for your to-do list, which 1 month is coming up soon. So reminder to follow up with mentors, follow up with new contacts that you made at AMSSM that you want to keep in touch with going forward. Again, this can be by email, text, phone, however you acquired said contacts. I think about a month out or a little bit under is a good touch point to just continue that relationship. Another good opportunity, reach out to people you didn't get a chance to see at AMSSM, because the conference is busy, or maybe you didn't get a chance to go to the conference and you have people that you wanted to touch base with. Good opportunity to just send a quick note or message out. If you gave a talk or was involved in a teaching opportunity or group, it's reasonable to reach out to the appropriate person to thank them for the opportunity, especially if that's something that you want to do again or stay involved with in the future. Express interest in projects that may have been brought up at committees and subcommittees. There's a ton going on, which you'll also find within the Collaborate groups, but reaching out to committees and subcommittees, there's always projects to work on. So think about that avenue too. And again, something you're actually interested in doing, because again, authenticity is important. I recommend connecting with new contacts that you met at the meeting or whoever you haven't connected on with social media. I personally find that quite rewarding, especially when it's humorous. At late night at times, but I think that's helpful to keep in touch throughout the year as well. And then last two things, there's the AMSSM Sports Medcasts. It's a podcast that you can sign up for, just subscribe to and get those in your inbox or however you get podcasts. And then the AMSSM YouTube channel, which I probably don't really need to talk about, because if you're here watching it virtually, then you already know about the channel, but good plug nonetheless. Okay, and then just for a timeline, so we talked about a 1 week to-do list, a 1 month to-do list, and then I would say maybe last thing to do, set a 1 month or 6 month calendar reminder to sort of follow back up on things you missed, check back in with some of these people, because the cycle continues and soon enough we're preparing for the next annual conference again. So that pretty much ends my small contribution. I'm going to hand it over to Lauren, Dr. Poindexter, for her Collaborate explanation. But before I do that, I'm just going to go over the next few steps. So after Lauren's done, Caitlyn, if you want to just bring up any of the additional suggestions that came up or questions that came up in the chat box, and then we'll turn the recording off and have a more informal interactive session for whoever wants to join. And in that time frame, additional Q&A, if it's coming up in the chat box, we'll go, Caitlyn will go over those or kind of bring those up. And then also I thought one other thing, because networking is collaborative and interactive, is if you do want to participate today, if you're live, offering suggestions for our future early career blueprint series, just enter those in the chat box and Lauren will monitor those and then bring them up and unmute your mic and then she'll unmute your mic if it needs more explanation. So Lauren will monitor that piece. Ideas that we've been sort of toying around with is office politics, or meet the staff, sort of a behind the scenes of AMSSM, but I'll let you all think and contribute to that. And with that, we will start with number 1, collaborate, and then move on. And
thanks, other Lauren. I'm going to share my screen so I get to stop you. Love those slides, by the way.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right, I'll mute myself and you can take over.
Thanks. All right, so y'all should be able to see me now. And what I'm gonna also do, I'm gonna try to close out the chat box, and then I'm gonna try to make, oh, Lauren got pinned on my screen. Okay, so let's chat about how to use AMSSM Collaborate. So why this matters, and we learned that this is not a super intuitive thing and could be improved if we had some guidance on how to use it. This came about when I was helping with the ultrasound committee, and we're at the AMSSM meeting, and lots of people wanted to be engaged, and they kept saying, how do I get engaged? And we said, well, join the Collaborate group. And I went online and I looked at the AMSSM Sports Ultrasound Collaborate group, and there's over 400 people. And so I thought, well, this would be a really great way to get our information out to these 400 people. I wonder what's going on that these 400 individuals still don't feel like they're up to date. And so I went in and I played around with the AMSSM Collaborate website. And it turns out that there's a certain, there's some certain places where you actually have to elect to receive the emails from the groups that you are part of. So let's walk through how to navigate that website. All right. So moving forward. So if you Google AMSSM Collaborate, the first result you get is the actual website you want to navigate to. So what we would do is we would click on the AMSSM Collaborate link, and it brings us to our website. If you're not already logged in, or you don't already have an access username and password, you need to actually formally join AMSSM Collaborate. It is somewhat, it is separate from the main AMSSM website. So what you would click is you would click on Join Us. I'm going to use my access portal as an example of how to navigate. So I would have clicked on Login, and then this is where it takes you. So if you already have email and password, you can log that in. If you think you logged in the past, but you don't remember, you can go ahead and click on the Can't Access Your Account, and that will help to navigate you to the right site. Okay, so in our scenario, I will have logged in my email and password and clicked log in. This brings up my portal. So hopefully when you log in, my name is not on your login, but you see my face, where I'm coming from. When you contribute or you respond to any sort of threads, you get points. So if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, Melissa Nyack from Henry Ford is rocking it, which is awesome. And then also in the upper right-hand corner, you have another small icon with your face. I have messages up here or notifications. And so you also want to check there. Another place to look is my communities quick list. So I'm a member of a number of communities because I really want to know all that's going on. The other place you want to look is in the quick links in the upper right-hand corner. So today we're specifically talking about how to get engaged in communities. So what you would do is you would click on the My Communities and it will take you to a new page. So if we click on My Communities, this is the page we're brought to. And it automatically is showing me all the communities to which I already belong, of which there's 17. If you want to look at communities which you're not yet belonging to, you can click on this drop down arrow and it brings up these options. Communities to which I already belong, which I know I just saw that. Communities you can join, and then communities you can only view. So if we click on communities I can join, this is what I get. I get 56 total communities to which I can join. So there is listed, if you can see my cursor, 20 per page. I can change that if I want to. So let's say we start scrolling through and I find that I want to join the orthobiologics discussion group, okay? Interestingly enough, if you notice, currently there's only 54 members, which is nuts because if you've been to any of the orthobiologics lectures or meetings at the AMSSM annual meeting, there's way more than 54 people just interested in this topic. So let's see what happens when we click the join button. Up comes a screen, and there's 3 different elements that I want you to be aware of on this screen. You get to choose whether or not you get daily emails, whether or not you want a weekly consolidated digest, and how you want any sort of discussion notifications to appear in your email inbox. One of the other things that's really important to notice is in your profile, what email address do you get your AMSSM notifications sent to? You may want to choose your private email. When you transition from a fellow to an attending, you may wish to include your work email address as your primary email. So if you feel like you've already registered for these notifications and you still can't find them, check your junk box, check to see if they're going to junk and or look for, double check your profile in the Collaborate venue. So let's say this. Let's say that you don't want daily emails, but you do want weekly emails. That can be helpful. And if you're really interested in getting discussion notifications in real time, look for that. You can actually select a real-time notification so that for every message that's included in a specific thread, you can get a real-time email. But let's say I just want the daily digest. That would be helpful. If you click on, I would like to opt out, that means that if, let's say, if the orthobiologics subcommittee chairperson sends out an email and says, hey, I'm looking for individuals to help with a project, you're not going to get an updated email from that. The only way you would see that is as if you proactively logged into the AMSSM Collaborate venue and checked. Okay, so if you're really interested in a specific topic, for example, you're currently a resident and you want to learn more about fellowship, right? Or you're currently a fellow and you want to learn more about sports ultrasound because that's your passion, make sure that you don't opt out of receiving these email messages. If all of this makes sense to you and you have your selection set up as you prefer, then you can click on yes, join the community. So why this matters is that we feel like there's a lot of members who are kind of out there, they're on their own, they're wondering how they can get more engaged. They come to the annual meeting and like I said before, they're like, hey, I want to participate, but like, where is everybody? What's going on? The best way to get a hold of people really can be through the AMSSM Collaborate venue. Remember, this is built specifically for you. It was built for all of us to be able to network in a secure environment. And sometimes people are going to miss emails, even if you've emailed them a couple times. If it's somebody that said like, hey, I was already interested in receiving more information about you, I would love for you to help join us. Reaching out to people through Collaborate can be a safe and secure way to do so. So hopefully you've elected to receive email notifications. And for those of you who are in my age bracket, when you hear the phrase, you've got mail, this is the first thing you're going to think of. But what you should be receiving is you should be receiving something like this. So you're going to receive committee notifications or community group notifications. And it's going to come from this do not reply at connectedcommunity.org. So if you're having trouble finding those emails, I just searched for AMSSM in my Gmail inbox, and I was able to go back and look at all my education group digest. So for example, if you click on it, this is what you're going to see. So for May 12th, somebody whose name I actually blocked out said that I'd love to be on the medical student education subcommittee. If you also want to join the subcommittee, or you have ideas or thoughts, or you think, oh my gosh, here's this person I went to med school with and I haven't seen them in years, I want to say hi, you can reply to the group or you can reply directly to sender, right? So this is like reply to the sender versus reply all. Make sure you click the right one. But this is really helpful for staying engaged. Reply to the group. Okay, so I am done with that. I'm going to stop sharing. And we're going to go on, and I think Caitlyn Mooney is going to chat with us next. You ready to go, girl? I think you're still muted, my friend.
There we go.
Nice.
Can you, okay, I gotta, hold on, let me elevate my computer again. I was trying to get on my laptop to open up Collaborate while you're chatting.
Yeah.
But I was using that to elevate my computer. I love listening to you talk about how to navigate all the AMSSM websites because it's so informative. I'd just be saying, well, click around at this spot and that spot, but you're very good at that. So we've had a couple questions in the chat. Let's see. Although not too many. So the first one was, how do you recommend we follow up if people don't reply in posting in the Collaborate groups? So I would say, I think a lot of people are still recovering from AMSSM and they probably haven't moved on to thinking about certain projects. Most people need like a month off to start working on those. So some of them will probably still come back to their Collaborate post and look and see who volunteered and see how the conversation went. Different committees probably have different amounts of engagement of their president and vice president with Collaborate. So if you don't hear back, I would go on the AMSSM website, and where you can find members, you can find everybody's email address. So if there's something specific you wanted to follow up with, I would directly email them if you haven't heard back in maybe a week or so. And that's probably how I would start with that. Unfortunately, not everyone's going to use this equally, so it's a good tool for networking. However, sometimes just with like emails, you do have to follow up with people because they might be, you know, people go hot and cold on projects. They might be looking at for volunteers one month, it's on the back burner the next month. So you kind of want to make sure that you're staying at the top of their mind without being necessarily annoying. So that would be my first recommendation. Some people also just, I do have some direct messages as well. Yeah, it's cool to not check it for a couple years, not go back on there and set your email so you know what's going on. I'm not going to call out any names here. And then some
I
other
see who's giggling over that one.
and then some other messages. I think this is a good thing because when people talk about maybe no one getting back to them. So how's the best way to get people who are busy to follow up with you, right? So you really want, and that's what I think a lot comes with some of the frustration of I want to be involved, but I don't know how. I feel like I'm not as involved as I want to. So if you go and sign the piece of paper at the committee meeting, or you put your name in the collaborate thread, you know, like I said, some presidents, some chairs, vice chairs of the committees will follow back, some won't. So I think it's really important to have an extra method of email afterwards. And then the second thing would be having been vice chair of a committee, it's a lot easier to have a volunteer that is specific about what they want to do than to just say, have a volunteer who says, I can help with anything, right? Because a lot of our committees are pretty broad. There are some smaller committees, but if you just do a broad response and I'm only in charge of social media, I'm gonna go with the med student or resident who said they wanted to do social media and came up with an idea for me. And you might have just as good of an idea as that person, but the fact that that person is now easier and lessens my decision fatigue of how to follow up with them and are they really interested in what I'm doing, it makes me go to the other person who already emailed me about something more specific. So especially communications, we have newsletters, we have social media, we have a website. It's pretty vast. And I don't know anything that somebody else is doing. So if somebody emails me about that, I will give you an email address for somebody else. But if that person doesn't follow up with you, you might go for a whole nother year without volunteering for something. And then also when people are just vague, a lot of times no one answers them. And so I think it's really important to be specific with who you're targeting your emails to. So for example, also some of our chairs are less involved. They might be overarching, but they're not involved with small parts of it. You really want to go to the person who they said like this, if you want to help write for the SportsMed Today newsletter, you want to email the person in charge of the newsletter that's what you want to do. And I think this goes for more than just the AMSSM, probably any organization you're involved in, the more specific you can be in your volunteerism is helpful. I also think I got really lucky because I became one of the first, I think that was the first year they had fellow liaisons. And when you have a job, it's easier to keep being more and more involved. So what you just want is that in. So even if maybe you're not passionate about a newsletter, if that person's really coming back to you and giving you feedback and getting you involved, sometimes it's good to just ride that out and then maybe you can switch next year as you get to know more people. Let me see if I have anything else in here. Yeah, like Lauren said, everybody's super busy. So people are gonna go to the easiest way to do it. And that's also important for why you sometimes need to follow up with people, because sometimes they didn't intend to lose your email, they just forgot about it. And so kind of following up like, oh, I know you're probably busy right after the meeting. You don't even have to say that. But sometimes, like I said, things are on the back burner. So just following up with them in a little bit of time and saying, hey, did you get back on that project or whatnot? let's see. I think,
And I can end the recording if you feel like there's not much else formally that anyone wants to say.
I had one other thing from some private conversations. Other things would be, sometimes it can be good to, if you're not feeling really well connected with the overall AMSSM community, you can always reach out to different projects, like see what different committees are doing, even if you say attended a different one. But also keep in mind, if you're a fellow or resident, both of those groups do have organizations where you can also get involved.
And remember, the great thing about networking too, and I mentioned this earlier in the chat, is that this is a relatively small community, right? Like our profession is pretty insular and pretty intimate. And I think that's a wonderful thing, right? And so being able to be at the meeting is fantastic, but remember, like, it's not just one and done, right? There's meetings next year and the year after that, and we were all growing and we are all developing. And so we get to see you when you're residents, when you're fellows, when you're new attendings. And so you don't have to always be like perfectly polished 100% of the time, but make sure you just have simple things in mind, like, am I being eager? Am I being sincere? Am I following up when I've been asked to follow up, right? Like, if you sign up to assist with a certain meeting or something, like, are you there on time? Are you just making a generally good impression? Are you somebody that we want to be around, right? Like, you don't have to be our best friend. We're not looking for best friends, but we're just looking for people who are sincere, right? Who are interested in lifelong learning, who are looking to make AMSSM and our own profession a better place as the years go on, right? So are you one of those people that you are investing more? Are you focused on investing more? Or are you focused more on pulling out what you can? And depending on where you are in your career, that's going to change, right? So when you're a resident and when you're a fellow, you're absorbing so much. And yet at the same time, there's little things that you can still be doing, like attending these lessons, or even at the national convention, like, are you just helping pick up trash around you, right? Like, so in what ways are you continually making our little environment a better place for all of us to be in? And so networking can come back and fulfill you in ways that you didn't anticipate. So finding, like we talked about, what are some ideas that you have for future meetings, right? Meaning these types of early career blueprint series meetings. What else do you want to get out of AMSSM that we can help you, especially if you're in those early stages of training and being an attending? So even though I'm the same age as some of the other attendings on this group, I'm actually fresh out of fellowship. And so, you know, Caitlyn and Lauren and Eliza have amazing things that they can teach me. And even though I don't know all that they know, I'm doing what I can to invest in AMSSM at the same time, right? So regardless of where you are in your stages of training, there's always something that you can do that benefits all of us. And so really glad you're here today, but be thinking about what you'd like to see and hear and learn about and participate in for these future sessions.
I can't remember who said it at one of the meetings, but they said, you know, one of the things is when you're a med student or a resident, you always think, well, why would that important person want to talk to me? But the thing is, relationships are two-way and you can learn from anybody. Like, obviously I learned from Lauren all the time, even if she is straight out of fellowship, or not straight, but recently out of fellowship. So I think also it can be really intimidating, but I think everybody has something interesting to offer, something interesting to teach. And even like all relationships, even hierarchical relationships, They are relationships. They're all two-way ways of communicating and being with other people.